All right, good evening, everyone. This is Brock Beard from lastcar.info. I know this is a highly unusual time to be doing a live stream. Usually, we just do the ones after the races, or especially after the Cup events. But I figured with everything that was happening this week, probably would be a good time to strike while the iron is at least lukewarm and talk a little bit about all the craziness that we have this week. Certainly opening the floor for anybody who'd like to join in on any of this. I'm sure everybody wants to talk about this, certainly, but I have a feeling with the pace of what we saw, certainly yesterday in particular, that by the time we get to Sunday, we're going to probably have at least a couple other news stories that are going to bury those under it, although I'm sure already we're already at a pretty high critical mass at this point. Where to even begin? Well, I guess we should start probably with the biggest part of it, the part of Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin starting a new team. Bubba Wallace being the driver next year. It seems to be a clash of the Titans here next season. And I've got to say, I mean, as always, there's mixed feelings about a lot of these things that are coming through. On the one side, having the involvement of arguably one of the biggest sports phenoms, really. I mean, my goodness, Michael Jordan. I mean, you don't even have to be that big of a basketball fan to know about, the Air Jordan brand and what he's done to the basketball shoe industry and everything else. Just a huge deal there that can't be understated, and I'm sure plenty of other channels have already talked about it. I say mixed feelings, though, at the same time that, as exciting as this is for all parties involved, I can't help but think about how a lot of eggs had to be broken in order to make this omelet that we had, whether it's the sponsors that Bubba Wallace attracted over at Richard Petty Motorsports this year, the charter from Germain Racing, which is closing its doors. Unfortunate news this week that followed up the fact that Geico is leaving them as a sponsor, and then the Toyota contract that the Levine family team no longer has. We're going to basically have, the Levine team and Germain Racing not being around next year, and the sponsorships leaving Petty Enterprises are certainly going to be an issue that the 43 team's going to have to work with, no matter who they get, whether it's Ty Dillon or somebody else there. And all this consolidated together into one team. And this is actually something that I'm going to be kind of talking about in the next video series I'm working on too. The number of teams and the number of efforts that are out there in the Cup Series, I think, are an interesting, way to kind of measure the strength of the field. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, a high-powered, effect here. We're going to really see. I mean, my goodness. I mean, it's kind of get your hands around what we're going to be seeing next year. In the past, we've seen efforts where major professional athletes have been investing in Cup teams, or usually doing it more kind of the startup route. Obviously, Jerry Nadeau, my favorite driver back then, was, his first ride was the Elliott Marino deal. And that was an expansion team from Bill Elliott's team that Bill Elliott never won a Cup points race in that number 94 car, but expanded to this second car. Unfortunately, that team only lasted a year. They made it to the 1999 500, had Nations Rent as a sponsor and Dick Trickle driving, but unfortunately didn't really get to keep going from there. You think of Hall of Fame Racing, Roger Staubach and Troy Aikman investing in there with DLP as the sponsor. They had Tony Raines in there. They were able to go from 2006 through the introduction of the car tomorrow in 2007. Joey Logano was able to make one of, I believe, his first ever start, if I remember correctly, with the number 96 car in that same time period. And, unfortunately, that team is no longer with us. And then you have other ones. I know a lot of mention's been made about the Jarrett Favre team in the Busch Series and some of these other efforts here. I certainly hope that with the effort that's being put into this, it sounds like they have a real strong showing. And I think it's really difficult for, a startup team to really get going anymore these days. But the Herculean effort that it's basically drawing on, elements of three completely different teams to kind of put this thing together. And I certainly hope, only wish them the best as to what they can do next year. I mean, they're not going to have any trouble getting major press on this, one way or the other. Not just given everything that's happened this season, but also just really the outlook into the Cup Series and what teams are still going to be out there. But Yeah, I mean it's still a difficult it's a difficult situation on that end because again I do have from looking at the on the small team side. I am all about startup teams and all these teams getting up there and new people getting into starting organizations to get people rides because again we talked about this I think in our Sunday show or our Bristol show last week. There's never going to be a shortage of talent. There's never going to be a shortage of Cup Series talent, whether they're people in iRacing, trying to get into actually physically driving, or people more traditionally working their way up the ranks from short tracks or open wheels or any other kind of route there. There's never going to be a shortage of talent, but you need to have those cup level rides. And when you have those 36 charters and only a few open teams, you realistically don't have that many opportunities. And even when you had 43 cars out there, the number of opportunities you had to start a race in different time periods is very challenging. So and again, we do have yes a brand new investor, brand new team that's coming up there. But again, it's certainly a tinge of sadness that we're not going to have the Germain Racing team, and we're definitely not going to have the Levine family team. And who knows what shape the Petties are going to be in next year. I certainly hope that there's some sponsor or some driver they can get that can be a deep pocket on that side. And again, that's where it's mixed feelings. And again, it's nothing against Michael Jordan or anything like that. I think it's fantastic for the sport. It shows another interesting trend with people outside the sport trying to invest into it. And again, we'll see how everything shakes out at that same time. I think the biggest thing that they're going to have to worry about in the start of this is that expectations are going to be too high. You go into the Daytona 500 next year. Sounds like the 500 is still going to start the season. It's last we heard. We haven't got the official word on the schedule yet. But it's going to be a different situation where they're going to expect to get results like right out the box. And what we've seen with a lot of these ones where athletes invest in teams, even with much less backing, that's typically not been the case. Jerry was the very same thing with the Marino team, Hall of Fame Racing, these other efforts. Even Joe Gibbs Racing, if you want to talk about something there, and that one, he was basically starting that one from scratch. Got the great sponsor, Interstate Batteries. It used to be with Stanley Smith as an owner driver back then. Fortunately, Smith was able to keep running even after losing that sponsor for a couple of years. But Joe Gibbs Racing, they didn't win for their first year. They made up for it big time by winning the 1993 Daytona 500 with Dale Jarrett. But there were challenges coming up there, and these are challenges whether you're a chartered team or not. You're going to have to deal with. But I think the exciting thing is that we don't necessarily know what echelon they're going to be in, where they're going to be starting from. You could say that if you have a Toyota investment and you have Denny Hamlin's involvement in there, does that mean that they're going to be at the level of like a JTG already racing or something like that, or maybe a lower level part of Roush Fenway Racing or something like that? Or are they going to be up a little bit further and being closer to kind of, a Hendrick kind of organization, or maybe like the fourth Hendrick team kind of thing? Where are they going to fit in that ranking? And we're not going to know that until we see a number of the races coming through. So quite honestly, looking at the race next year at Fontana, which we're already planning on covering next year, definitely checking out what will almost certainly be the number 23 car. Can't really imagine a time where they wouldn't be running that number. Be nice to see that number back out there after you think about Bill Davis Racing or much more Travis Carter Racing further back. I think that'll be pretty cool. But yeah, I mean it's gonna be an interesting deal, and I'm excited to see what's going to be happening there. Now, one thing that I think has come up, and talk to my brother about this, I think is going to be interesting, is that one thing that Michael Jordan, I think, is particularly known for is just a commitment to excellence, commitment to perfection. And and I think that it's going to be very interesting to see how well that gels with the team and everything, and how quickly they progress through the ranks. Given how successful Michael Jordan has been with his brand and everything. I don't see himself, attaching himself to a project unless he is that convinced that there's going to be immediate results there. And again, not to hype things up too much, but I think especially as we get into the season, that's going to be the interesting thing there. Now, of course, the other side of it, that's the same challenge for any new investor in the sport, is just seeing how challenging it is to stay in the sport. These charters, as we've seen, have not necessarily been a guarantee of anything, really, which is unfortunate. And I know that there's a lot of teams where they have to kind of put up a lot of money even to get a charter from another team. Now, in a lot of these cases, we still had teams that are losing sponsors, and I don't know if that helps the resale cost of it or anything. A lot of that seems to be more or less left out of the public view. But that's certainly something that that plays a role in this. But that's going to be something interesting to see in the same sense there. Yeah, seeing the comment there on BK Racing running the 23 as well. See, so many other times the numbers changed hands there. But again, I'm really excited with new teams. I'd rather they not be coming at the cost of other teams. That's the one concern I have. No fault of Michael Jordan or anything like that. They're working within the system the same way that like Spire Motorsports did, where they had basically a new team sprung up after Furniture Row closed. The charter was just there, and hey, they had an opportunity. Everybody else had an opportunity to invest in it. People passed on it, and they were able to get the winning bid. We saw the same thing. You mentioned BK Racing. We saw the same thing where GMS Racing was looking to get in the Cup Series. You remember they even registered an entry number that one particular year, but we never actually saw them start after Spencer Gallagher made his Cup debut at Watkins Glen. It looked like they were going to be trying to invest in it more for the following season. That fell through. So it's a complete toss-up in that side. But the thing that I think I'm most excited about, though, is I hope that there's going to be, we get more new teams coming into the sport, because, again, I think that's something that the sport has really struggled with, certainly since the introduction of the car tomorrow. 2008, 2009 were really kind of difficult times. But especially in these last few years, again, not having enough seats for the talent that's out there, and then shortening the fields on top of that, I don't think helped that effort. So I hope that this is maybe something that will either maybe change that business plan, or at least encourage other people to take a chance at it and try to start a Cup team. I'm hopeful that they don't think they have to do what it took for Michael Jordan to be invested in this, that they think that they need to have a sponsor with, a driver with a number of sponsors from one team, a charter with another one, and a technical alliance from yet another team, and put those together. I hope that it's not that difficult for people to break in. I hope that there's still people that can work their way up as open teams and get up there and maybe earn a charter, kind of like Starcom Racing did, or even Rick Ware Racing did as well. People may have their criticisms about those teams and how competitive they are. We heard a lot about that after Bristol, about the minimum speed and everything. But you work your way up, and they're much better now than they would have been a couple of years ago. And, both Derek Cope and Rick Ware have been trying to get Cup Series programs developed for years. They go way back further than just these last couple of years. So it's a long time effort. And I hope that there are people that are still making that effort and trying to get up there. And, hey, you never know what inspires these things. If it's something with one of the greatest names in sports, then maybe they're like, hey, they're going to do it. I want to be in there too. And I want to see if I can beat the Air Jordan car. I was wondering, whenever I hear the Air Jordan brand, I always think back to Jimmy Horton, because for old school fans, that was always the nickname that Jimmy Horton got after he flipped his car over the wall at Talladega in 1993. So you kind of have, I was wondering if, they do their first throwback scheme for Darlington. I'm sure they're going to do something more like a Chicago Bulls theme and all that. And I wouldn't doubt that at all, if not running it at Chicagoland. But it'd be great if they did like a Jimmy Horton thing. I think that would be kind of interesting kind of way to kind of tie that together. Maybe a way to kind of unite kind of this the basketball and NASCAR things together there. So that would be something kind of interesting in that sense too. But yeah, that would be something else. So yeah, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. So again, I appreciate you. Wow, I didn't expect this many people coming in here tonight. I'm hoping not to have too many people going to be tired tomorrow morning here, but we'll probably do this for maybe close to an hour or so, or thereabouts. We're not going to do the trivia portion tonight. We'll do that on Sunday after our Vegas show, but I want to kind of open the floor to discussions on the everything that was happening here. Blake Thiemann, your comment there about the 23 Jimmy Spencer yellow camel car. See, there would be another good option too. So something else that you can kind of check out at the same time. Hippie Two Sheds, I see your comment there in the tropical storm there, man. Hope you're staying safe out there. Certainly appreciate you jumping in here at the same time. Hope we can keep you company here for a little bit. Well, let's see. Well, that was just one story we had. What should we move on to now? Should we talk? I mean, we can certainly talk more about. We can talk about Jordan really the rest of the night, but well, Ross Chastain's the number 42. That's interesting. Talk about a come from behind a rags to riches and riches to rags and then back to riches again story. I remember again Phoenix a couple years ago, and the grin on Ross's face being even bigger that he was going to be locking up that full-time Xfinity ride for the number 42 team with DC Solar as a sponsor, and how amazing that was going to be because he just won at the event that we're going to this weekend, Las Vegas, winning that race and actually trying to make a statement there. And then the sponsor gets apparently raided by the FBI, and everything kind of falls apart there. And the Busch Series team ends up shutting down, and then Ross has to kind of piece things back together. He goes to Premium Motorsports. He eventually gets, a part-time ride there with Colleague Racing, and then that becomes his full-time thing this year. And now, once again, much like kind of like a Kurt Busch kind of sense or something like that, he's found himself right back in that number 42 all over again in the Cup Series. And after Matt Kenseth has done, a solid, not spectacular job this year, but difficult circumstances. But, I thought his top 10 at Darlington when they came back in May was pretty impressive. And certainly his runner-up run at Indianapolis, I thought he had a good outside shot at winning there, and potentially not just breaking the McDonald's curse, but winning in a car number that Juan Montoya tried frequently to win at the track. Had something all ready to write that night if that actually happened. Unfortunately, it didn't. But Kenseth put on a fine showing in there, and Harvick just seemed destined to take that victory after Hamlin's problem. That was going to be interesting. But kudos, certainly to the Watermelon Man there in the 42. I think that's going to be very exciting. I do think he's a very aggressive driver who's no doubt going to be ruffling some feathers from some of these other drivers out there, and it's going to be in a good enough car. I think him and Kurt Busch's teammates are going to be particularly interesting. Again, really, I guess that's really kind of the comeback kid teammate. I hadn't really thought about that till just now, but Kurt, of course, with his back and forth, getting fired from Penske, driving for Phoenix Racing, building up his career in very much the same way, ultimately getting to Stewart-Haas and then back to Ganassi again. Just incredible stories behind the both of them. I wonder if they can kind of maybe their relationship will work out pretty well, their business relationship there, and how well they can kind of understand each other from pretty similar backgrounds in that sense. So, hey, maybe that'll be the underdog team to watch going forward, at least among the chartered guys or the top teams. And hey, maybe we'll still get some good throwbacks on the 42 car next year. I still think the Kenny Irwin Bell South car needs to be an option. I know they already ran the Kenny Irwin one at Darlington for the Rick Ware team, but that's something that I think maybe a watermelon motif to kind of tie that in there or something. The lime green. He seems to have these great. I love the paint schemes that Ross usually has when he has the Melon Man schemes. I think even the one he had for the 77 team at Indianapolis was a decent job, something like that. But that would be interesting in that sense. But yeah, great for Chastain. I think that would be interesting to see and interesting what he can do. Let's talk about Texas. Well, mentioned this the other day on Twitter. This rumor about having the All-Star. Well, I guess I don't know how much of it's a rumor or how much of it's fact. That the All-Star race is going to be in Texas next year, which is a track that has been gone through more plastic surgery than insert celebrity name here. I mean, it's ridiculous what has gone over there since 1997. I actually talked on that a little bit in that video on NASCAR Man a while back about cookie cutter tracks and how many issues Texas has had over the years. And now having the All-Star race, I got to say, I think NASCAR kind of threw up their hands after the Bristol All-Star race was not very good. And they threw a bunch of gimmicks in that didn't really work. They kind of just, half kiltered those, whether it was the number placements in absurd places or the chassis lights just being under the back of the car to make it look like the rear end was on fire. I think that they were probably in the corner and said, well, hey, that's not going to work. So what other track can we do? And then, Texas, I guess, was the next one in the Rolodex or wherever the dart landed when they threw it at the board. I don't exactly understand it. I know that, there's nothing against Eddie Gossage and the group over there. I know they've tried, I think it's perhaps a case where they've tried too much to make that track as exciting as possible. And to try to really change it in every sense of the term. But I think, unfortunately, that track is kind of a Frankenstein at this point. We just have situations where it's been too treacherous for the Indy cars after it was too fast for the Indy cars even further back. Now we have situations where they don't know where to put the PJ1 on it. You got half of it's Kentucky and half of it's kind of like old Texas. And again, great. I hear it has great food. It's a great location. It's one I'd love to cover pretty soon. I was just talking about that actually earlier tonight. But it's had some good last car battles. Keselowski almost had his first last place battle there, got edged by Stenhouse in that one. It's interesting in a number of different ways. But it's still kind of searching for an identity. But of course, leaving this same idea here that okay, we're gonna have the All-Star race in Texas, which itself I thought when they were talking about Bristol having dirt on it, that was going to be the lead-in for the All-Star race. I thought for sure that was where they were going with it. The fact that they didn't do that, it makes me wonder if they're really talking about actually putting dirt on Bristol, or if they're just having that be a points race, which would be a little strange. I'm not sure exactly what's happening with Eldora for the Truck Series next year. If that's fallen off the schedule, then I guess they're looking for something else that they can do. Because the dirt races at Eldora have been fantastic. It's much like the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve and the Xfinity Series. It's not been for a lack of an exciting product. Perhaps just the extenuating circumstances this year or something else just hasn't played into the hands there. But I'm not convinced that Texas is going to put on a good show for that. And I think maybe they're at a point now where they're going to try to rotate the events and all that. But of course, and I've seen the comments here in the comment section already. Of course, the elephant in the room, the big twisting road course outside of Austin, is that they're going to run the Cup Series at the Circuit of the Americas, which just completely, to me, sounds like throwing spaghetti against the wall and seeing what sticks. Out of all the road courses that you could run another Cup Series race at, okay, you're keeping it in Texas. You're trying to find some kind of a compromise around that, even though apparently these long-term contracts don't exist and it's just a year-to-year thing, and there's been no attendance figures. And now we have a year where nobody's allowed to be in the stands. So does that mean that's just wide open and you can pick anywhere that you can run these venues? I thought for sure they're going to add Road America to the Cup Series because they put on a great show in the Xfinity Series. NASCAR needs to adjust their caution flag policy so that one half of it doesn't run behind the pace car. Circuit of the Americas, I don't know. It's a blank slate. I don't think a lot of things that are designed for Formula One generally work that well for NASCAR. I know Watkins Glen is perhaps the biggest exception because Watkins Glen is the biggest draw, and obviously, Formula One World Championship years before, years between really the first couple of Cup races there, and then the current Bud at the Glen era since 1986. It's I don't know. It's tricky. It seems like they're trying to find something to do with Circuit of the Americas outside of Formula One and trying to attract as many circuits there as possible. I don't really watch a lot of Formula One, so I can't really comment too much on, how exciting of a race it would put on. I know it's got a nice straightaway and hill into turn one, but I know a track that, quite frankly, I think is much better suited to it that didn't get a Cup race this year. So I'd rather be more excited about that instead. We'll see what date Sears Point ends up having next year. I still think, a spring date would be pretty nice, but we'll see where things look between now and then. I guess it's worth a try. If they got spaces on the schedule, and if it's not eliminating another track on the schedule, it's basically eliminating a second Texas race that shouldn't have been there. Thank you, Francis Furco, for that in 2005. One race in Texas is fine. I still think we need to have the best way to reset a schedule is to have one race at each track so that you can focus on what makes each track special. Yes, even Daytona. Yes, even Bristol. Yes, even Martinsville. Yes, even Talladega. Go to as many different tracks as possible. It's these double dates that are the reason that the schedule is so inflexible and things like that. Darlington, look at all the success that they've had by just focusing on the Southern 500. It's fantastic. Now it's got its identity all its own. It gets to be the throwback weekend. They put on a great show. Even when there's barely any fans allowed in there, it's still an exciting show. So, that would be something I think would be something to see at the same time. But yeah, I mean, it's I don't really know exactly what to expect with Circuit of the Americas. I know I think Brad Perez put some great pictures up about Spec Miatas running around there. I mean, that would be exciting. I'd love to see some good SCCA racing around there, and it kind of reminds me of covering the Pirelli World Challenge a couple of years ago at Sears Point and all that. So sports car racing maybe would be a good suit there. But NASCAR, it seems like they would be anything that's designed for Formula One with high performance cars, especially something intentionally designed for Formula One, like any modern road courses there. I would think just NASCAR cars would struggle around it. But then again, that could be a contradiction because I did just mention the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and that track is tighter than tight, and every single one of those Xfinity races there was a classic, instant classic. Even the one where they threw a shoe in front of Danica Patrick and she had problems with wheel hopping and stuff after that. Those are all just fantastic races. If you haven't seen any of them on YouTube, highly recommend pulling them up. That will help be something else to watch on a good evening at the same time. But we'll see what happens on that. I just don't, I'm not entirely convinced on it. But again, I've been wrong before, and I may be wrong in that sense. Especially since I love road course racing. I really do. I grew up on it. I'm looking forward to watching more of it. I even love Mosport. Mosport would be a fantastic Cup race. I think it's a beautiful area. It's very relaxed. The Truck Series venue there was great. I really enjoyed covering it. Love to do it again. I don't know, how realistic that would be, but just the sight lines there are beautiful. Again, I'm glad at least. I guess the one positive thing with Circuit of the Americas is at least they're looking at purpose-built road courses. Because I'm starting to really question how successful this Roval business has been at these other tracks. I didn't particularly enjoy the Daytona Infield Road Course. The Indianapolis Road Course, the finish for the Xfinity race was really good. Wasn't entirely sold on the entire race, but the finish was good. So maybe there's something there. And the Charlotte Roval, they seem like I mean, by being the first one, they seem to have really kind of perfected that style a bit and all that. So I think Charlotte definitely seems to be coming out ahead. I'd much rather have the Charlotte Roval than a 600 and a 500-mile race both on the oval. I think that had to be done. If they weren't going to move that date off of Charlotte, at least do something radically different. And gosh, there's hardly anything you can do more radical than put the turtles there. I still think that chicane backstretch should have stayed the same for the first year. I think that barrier out there that everybody kept running into was perfect because it was just so absurd and ridiculous. And then they got rid of it. I like calling it the hangnail because it stuck out just a little bit too far out the back of the backstretch there. And I know it caught a lot of cars. Luckily, no serious injuries, thankfully. I mean, if it were something like anything at a different track there that was significantly dangerous, that would be something different. But that was a different situation there. But yeah, I mean, I think the Daytona Roval for sure. I wasn't really very excited about. I think it wasn't that good of a venue, and it, being broadcast remotely, I think didn't show it very well either. So part of that could have just been the limitations of all that too, but not as entertaining as Charlotte. I think Charlotte actually has kind of an interesting infield layout there, and the curbs being high enough and destructive enough that it's almost like the way natural road courses were maybe 20 years ago, where you had a lot of mechanical failures and cars literally just falling apart. That's where road racing gets really exciting. Testing really is a test of the limits of the equipment. I think the Roval does a good job of that. Indianapolis, again, not crazy about it, but again, it's hard to ignore that finish, the Xfinity Series race. I think that's more of a consequence of just the Xfinity Series having really almost stolen the show from the Cup Series this year. I think they've become so entertaining this season with the drivers in there, and now allowed to. Once you got the big three out of there, once you got a lot of the Cup guys out there, yeah, you have Kyle Busch every once in a while, but it's now the exception. It's not the rule, and you can have. Even when you have all the Kaulig cars up there, even that is not guaranteed to be a complete sweep because we saw that back in Daytona too. And there's been a lot of underdog teams that have been able to get featured at the same time. And gosh, we have Brandon Brown in the playoffs this year. How exciting is that? So that was a different situation there too. But yeah, I mean that's kind of my thinking on the Charlotte side of it. Oh yeah, I guess I've seen some comments here about the 48 for the next year. I mean, the rumors on that, some very convincing Photoshop work, I will say. I'm glad. I don't. This again, the this whole debacle apparently pictures showing that potentially Kyle Larson being in the 48 and Lionel posting pictures on there, and then everybody else and making their own version of it and stuff to show anybody else driving the car there. Complete absurdity. But it's anybody's guess. Kyle Larson, I know, he gets thrown around a lot. I've been interested in how much attention he's been getting. Not to be ignorant of what happened back in April, but specifically, how much attention he's been getting for winning all these dirt races. So it's like, okay, we knew he was a really good dirt tracker. He almost won Eldora those times. He actually had a good race against Bubba Wallace that one year, and he's always been up there. And it's like, okay, wow, he won 20 dirt track races. He won 30 dirt track races. He was like, well, he better. Like, my stance on kind of bushwhacking and stuff like that. I usually think about more of the top 3 series, but I just think it's a little bit strange, like how excited people have been getting about that. Not to say that I'm glad to see something positive being talked about Kyle Larson, because I think as stupid of a mistake as he made back in April, I think that that itself was just an ugly chapter just on all fronts. I already wrote about that. I'm not going to go back down that road in that discussion again there. So I'm glad there's something positive people can talk about this year on Kyle there. But I think it's just a little strange the way that this coverage has been going, where it's just like, oh my gosh, look at all these dirt track races he's won. It's like, well, he better. Like, come on. The kid is talented, and one thing that's really kind of been lost in everything that's happened this year. Kyle Larson had a really good start of the season before the season was suspended. I think he was like 4th or 5th in points. He was solidly in the playoff standings. So, and Kurt's still in the playoffs right now, just glancing again at the lineup. Chip Ganassi Racing in general is doing well, and I'm sure Ross Chastain is going to benefit very well from that next year, and hopefully pick right where he left off in the Xfinity Series with him. But we'll see what happens. And I'm seeing some comments on here. Hippie Two Shades, you got a good point there on the low key ride. We mentioned Kurt Busch earlier. I mean, again, he could be in the very same situation. Maybe he drives for an open team and helps elevate them. I mean, look how much Kurt Busch did for both Phoenix Racing and Furniture Row Racing. Really, we didn't mention that earlier. Or I didn't mention that. The Royal We. The situation that Kurt Busch had, that he had to completely rebuild his career after 2011, and that whole situation. And I think it's fair to equate Kyle Larson's thing with that. I mean, there can be an argument for another day on that. Certainly had immediate effects on both drivers' careers there. But yeah, maybe that would be a more sensible route or a more logical one. And quite frankly, as somebody who follows these small teams all the time, I would love to see what he can do in one of these cars. Maybe he jumps into one of Rick Ware's cars. I'm sure Rick would be looking very closely at him. And if he's got 4 cars out there, what if he jumps into the Spire car or something, and suddenly he's right up there with everybody else? Maybe he has like a year where he's particularly good in that. I think that would be a great story. I think that would be something certainly, entertaining to see. Now, then again, I mean, I don't see him staying on the open market as much as Kurt Busch. Because the tricky thing with Kurt Busch is that he had a number of different incidents earlier in his career, whether it was the rivalry with Jimmy Spencer, whether it was the thing with the police officers in Phoenix that got him out of the car late in 2005 when Kenny Wallace took over for him, and then the thing with Dr. Jerry Punch at Homestead in 2011. There was a series of a number of things that were going on. With Larson, you have one admittedly very big thing that did happen. How much is that going to be treated, in the same sense? That'll be interesting. That'll be interesting. I don't know where that's going to shake out, but that's going to be, that'll be interesting. I would be more interested if he started in a small team, but I think in all likelihood he'll probably end up with a larger team. And I don't think, I mean, again, there's even discussion about whether or not the 48 is going to be the only big seat that's still left out there. Is there a potential that he would be, is somebody else going to retire? Is somebody else going to switch teams? We could be in a situation where people are going to be, swapping from one ride to the next. Who is going to be staying put? That's hard to say. I mean, nowadays it seems like the number of drivers that are capable of winning every week, much less the number of teams that are able to win each week, even teams within the multi-car organization, it's maybe like 4 or 5 guys. And then of course you have a stretch like now where it's like, if it's not Kevin Harvick, it's Denny Hamlin. If it's not Denny Hamlin, it's Brad Keselowski. And if it's not Brad Keselowski, who knows? It's a complete crapshoot, and it could be, Martin Truex or somebody else. So if you're in a situation where maybe there's only 3 top flight rides, how well is that going to shake out? But yeah, it'd be interesting either way. But I would be, that's, discussing this, that's going to be an interesting situation to see if he can actually get a decent ride with a smaller team and just kind of rebuild it. And then at the same time, help that organization. Undoubtedly, what Kurt was able to do with Phoenix Racing helped them. I know that they only were around for just a couple more years before the H. Scott investment, and then that became kind of a whole other organization. But they were really good consistently at the restrictor plate races, just like they were back in the day with Mike Wallace and well, okay, I guess Mike Wallace is another thing to talk about, but some of these other competitors and everything at the same time that were great super speedway drivers driving for the team. And then Kurt won in, the Dakar. I think he shredded the right rear quarter panel off the thing, and he still won at Daytona. Just astounding stuff. And maybe that would be a story that people would be really interested in seeing, and well, I certainly would. And it helps those organizations, but certainly Furniture Row Motorsport or Furniture Row Racing, he was a tremendous help in that. I mean, you can certainly point to the Toyota contract and everything like that, and the Gibbs Alliance and all that stuff to help the 78 get up there and be the unstoppable powerhouse that it was in 2017. But at the same time, I mean, Truex was able to sit at a very comfortable table because Kurt Busch and Regan Smith and some of these other guys set a nice table for him. So that was kind of the situation that you had from there. I mean, Kurt Busch got them into the chase at a time where they weren't even sure if they could win more than just a couple of races. Could have won a couple of them, that season before he ended up getting the ride at Stewart-Haas. So that was exciting to see. And then Truex, yeah, when he got in there before the Toyota transfer there, won at Pocono. They changed manufacturers, got Cole Pern, and the rest is history. Unfortunately, a shorter history. It'd be great if that team was still with us. But again, that's kind of another look at it. But that'll be interesting to kind of see at the same time. Let's see. Just kind of scrolling through your comments here. Am I missing? I mean, I'm sure I'm missing a couple of things. I guess. Well, I don't want this too much to be kind of a whole thing about. I mean, there's been the other stuff with some of these other drivers. I mentioned Mike Wallace earlier. I mean, I think right now. If we want to talk about something like, with all the fear around Mike Wallace, or all the fear around Haley Deegan, and all this other stuff that's been going on there, look, I think right now, more than ever, whether you are here in the U.S. or you're here somewhere else, we're all in the same boat, folks. We're all dealing with a lot of crazy stuff. And I think we're all getting just a little bit stir crazy, and we all need to just give each other just a little bit more space. Okay? I mean, some people are saying silly stuff, and some people are saying things that maybe they shouldn't be saying, and all that other stuff. I mean, okay, whatever your stance is on that, look, we've all said ridiculous stuff. We've all done things that we probably don't want to know about, and all the other stuff like that. And I'm just talking about ever since March here this year. It's just, I don't want to kind of get in the middle of all that stuff there, because I think that just gets, I'm not interested in signal boosting one side on that or the other or anything like that. We've seen how dangerous that can be in a number of instances, whether it was the reaction to, wondering what was going on with Ryan Newman's accident in February, or all the other stuff that happened in the aftermath of Talladega this year. There's a lot of harm that can go in one direction or the other and running with a story like that. So I whenever I hear a story like something like those 2 particular stories there, I just think, look, okay, there's a lot of craziness and stuff going on here, and I think that it's important that we all just give each other a little bit of room. It's like, look, okay, yeah, should they have said this? Should they have done this? Should they have done? Okay, look, I think what's probably going to end up happening when we do kind of get back to any semblance of normalcy, there's going to have to be some kind of a reconciliation here. There's going to have to be a moment where we all kind of, come together. It's like, you know what? Yeah, you said this kind of ridiculous thing in May, and oh, I said this kind of thing in July, and 2020 was just weird. And it's just, and at some point, I really hope that 2020 just becomes kind of this shared experience that will somehow just be completely in the past, and everybody's just going to kind of look back at it and be like, wow, what the heck was that? What was We'll look at it the same way that people my age look at the 1970s and see somebody with like polyester clothes and weird stuff like that and say like, what the heck were people thinking back then? It's like, well, you talk to somebody from that time period, it's like, well, you wouldn't understand what it was like at the time. And one of these days, every one of us out here is going to have that same moment and say, boy, you may think that you have it tough now, or you may think that you know what real crazy stuff is like, but tell you what, I remember a time where sim races got broadcast on national television, and not on cable, but on broadcast television, because we couldn't leave the house. And this isn't to make light of what's going on right now at all. It's very serious. It's affecting everybody in everybody's own way. But what I like to do on this, I don't like to get bogged down too much and all that stuff on there, because you hear about enough of it already out this. I want this to be escapism, and looking ahead to more positive things up here, and more and quite frankly things that are of lesser consequence, like just talking about racing, just simple racing and simple competitions here. And I think that was another reason that I wanted to kind of jump in on the show tonight. So I'm not going to go really into any of that kind of stuff there tonight, and I'm going to kind of just leave it there on that. So what I'm going to do now at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of leave your comments, leave it open to the comment section here, and anything else that we haven't talked about really in terms of these news. I feel like I'm missing a very big and obvious one. We talked about Michael Jordan's investment, Bubba Wallace and Denny Hamlin. We talked about Circuit of the Americas, the second Texas race, the All-Star race. We talked about Ross Chastain in the 42. We speculated a little bit about the 48 car and who may or may not be in there. I'm trying to think of what other things are going to be up at that same standing point there. So, yeah, that'll be, let's see. Ty Dillon to the 43 or any improvement? I'm not sure on that one, Hippie Two Shields. It's possible. I could kind of see that happening. The real determining factor, I think, with Ty Dillon is how many other sponsors are firmly in his corner without Geico there. We have seen the number 13 run with different sponsors before. Not too often, though. I think some of those were with Casey Mears, though. Just trying to think off the top of my head. Ty Dillon's had other partners, working his way up the ranks and stuff, some of them with Childress and otherwise. What sponsors he's able to bring to the table without Geico there, that's going to be kind of the important thing. So I think that's going to be kind of the factor in there, because that's the thing that the number 43 team's going to need more than anything. Hopefully that the Petties still have the alliance with Childress, so they can get something that helps out with their Chevy side of it. But sponsorship is going to obviously be the big issue there. That's going to be the big problem. And what Ty is going to bring with him. I don't see the Petties bringing on a particular driver that doesn't have at least a couple of sponsors in their back pocket. And unfortunately, that's just the name of the game these days. Maybe you can get somebody like Brandon Jones or somebody from the Xfinity Series. I know Kamikaze Games probably won't like that, but somebody that's still affiliated with the Menard sponsorship. Although I'm hearing that maybe there's something going on with that. Maybe that's not going to be as firmly in the sport or anything. So you can get something like that. JJ Yaley to the 43. NASCAR's fan, that may be some kind of a situation like that. Who knows? That could be a situation where that could be the other angle. Maybe where they don't have that much sponsorship, they go back to really old school. I know Richard Petty Motorsports isn't technically Petty Enterprises, but if you want to go even further back, there were years where the 43 car didn't have any sponsorship on it. There was just the plain blue car. Maybe they need somebody like a JJ Yaley that's solid at just getting decent finishes and doing the best they can with it. It's certainly possible. We've seen Yaley in those situations before, whether it was Tommy Baldwin or now even his deal with Rick Ware. I've been very impressed with what he's done this year. much like Chad Fincham in the Xfinity Series. You know, kind of that kind of same level in competition. Kamikaze games like Casey Mears in the 43. Yeah, that would probably be the other one too. It's not Menard's sponsor, it's Ream. I thought he had the Menard's one because he's running the yellow car a lot. He has the other one in that at the same time. He could have a different deal there. Let's see. Yes, I think we talked about this a little bit. I think on the Saturday show, but yeah, congratulations to Brad Smith on the top 10. We talked a little bit this. I know we talked about this on the Bristol show. It can't be overstated how huge that is for Brad and for the Hilton Motorsports team, the former Hilton Motorsports. You know, rest in peace, and James Harvey Hilton, the number 48 team out there. Good to see, and Brad Smith himself. I mean, he's driven, you know, so hard for so long in, you know, cars, even that they just kind of have to patch them, you know, back together. You see some of those old shots of the 26 cars that Brad ran back in the early 2000s, where it just looks like, you know, if you like try to make a die-cast car out of paper, like paper mache, it's just like all rumpled and nothing straight, and just going out there and running the best he can. And then Con Nicolopoulos, the same deal. Wayne Peterson's team, I know, you know, and you've certainly read this from William Saki's feature on the website. You know, Wayne Peterson's getting on the years, but still staying out there as determined as ever. And, you know, that man's lived like 5 lifetimes with all the life experience. I highly recommend reading his driver biography out there online. It's an incredible story that I think would make a great movie on its own. That's no exaggeration. But yeah, to see that team up there too. I know it's field size and all that, but this is something that'll be talked about in my next, you know, series here. You know, there's a time where you only had 18 drivers in Cup fields at some points, and sometimes even, you know, much fewer than that actually finishing under power. So getting anywhere close to the finish in these races, whether it's ARCA or NASCAR's top tier or anywhere in between, that's an accomplishment. So certainly kudos to them. Ultimate 23 Dragon, I saw this comment earlier. How well knowledgeable, how well knowledgeable am I with the NHRA? Not very. Not very. I'm afraid I'm not. I haven't. Well, I will admit I haven't been to a drag race either. I keep meaning. I was thinking of going to a drag race this year. Serious point. Then all this stuff happened. So that just shows how bad timing I have. But that's the situation with that. But I am interested. I mean, John Force and his family are obviously very big, and, you know, and much. I look at drag racing in much the same way as like the IndyCar series, where they were just like unbelievably brave to do what they do. It's, you know, I think it's strange that you have such a thing as extreme motorsports and you have like rally cars driving around in parking lots and stuff. I think we already have that. We have that in drag racing and IndyCar, and these guys are just like absolute borderline stuntmen to be doing what they do. Whether it's a quarter mile in Sears Point or Pomona or something like, or Pomona or something like. See, it shows how much I know. I can't even say the names of the tracks right. But an IndyCar or something where you're just hurtling around in Indianapolis and going 230 miles an hour straight towards a corner that's 90 degrees and wondering if the car is actually going to turn. You know, those guys are, you know, I have the utmost respect for anybody that gets into any kind of motorsports. But I think in the Top Gun, if you will, or in those series in particular, but that would be another one to kind of look at. Yeah, do we have the 24 hours of Le Mans over the weekend? I didn't watch any of that, but that would have been really interesting at the same time. I know David Land had a few updates from that during this. Let's see. LaJoy fan. In 20 years, the 2020 will be outlawed. Yeah, I think you might be right about that. Twisted T, Jeff K. Yeah, good call. Yeah, that's another one for the 13. That would be an interesting one. Let's see. Kind of scrolling through here. Toyota 1, United 1, LMP2. Okay. Right on. The Bristol race had better ratings on NBC Sports in Game 1 of the NHL Championship. I mean, well, hey, you know, MLG Pro Strike 69. See, that's another story. I mean, again, you look for the positives you can. I think this year, I think in some ways NASCAR did a very good job in trying to capitalize on being the first major professional sport to come back after the suspension of the season. I think in some ways they let some opportunities slip by. I think other times they kind of got caught in quagmires that they shouldn't have, that distracted from it. But I do think that by and large, they've done a very good job under very difficult circumstances, circumstances that we all find ourselves in, but difficult circumstances nonetheless. Getting all those cup races into the fact that we are still in the final 10 races of the year, it was very challenging to cover all those races in such short time when it was 4 and 5 races a week. Unbelievably, there is such a thing as too much of a good thing from time to time. Certainly, if you're writing an article and trying to get it to press time and then have the next race start right afterwards, it seems silly to complain about such a thing after not having it at all for a couple of months there. But that's the kind of thing that happens. But that's interesting to to certainly talk about there. And I think, yeah, the TV ratings are a good reflection of that. I try not to get too obsessed about like, ooh, these ratings are big and these are that, because I think everybody's been moving the goalposts very slowly over these years and say, okay, well, we're satisfied with this number over here. Whereas if you talk about this 15 years ago where the numbers are over here, this one would have been unthinkable. But if the highest number you could get at this point is like here, then okay, suddenly this looks a lot better. So, it's always a moving deal there. I'm glad people are getting into it. I'm glad people are excited by it. I think one of the things that has allowed NASCAR to do as well as it has under these circumstances, and perhaps motorsports in general, is that you don't have to pipe in artificial crowd noise. Look how weird football games have been. I haven't watched that much of it this year, but it looks like a scrimmage when you can hear the actual plays being called and everything like that. And you don't have that swell of the crowd cheering whenever a completion happens or anything like that. Basketball and hockey and all these other sports. Baseball is just like, apparently the A's won the Western Division, but it just doesn't feel right because he had such a short season and the whole Oakland Coliseum is full of stuffed animals and cardboard cutouts, and it's just like, what the heck? Historians are going to have to spend another, generation trying to actually get this whole transcribed to a story. Yeah, that's going to be. But I think in racing, it's just it's there's so many noises, there's so many sounds that are just natural to sport. Where it's the hit of the air gun or the squeal of the tires or all that stuff and everything else that I think it's just a lot of people got into it that weren't before, and I think that's fantastic. Whether it was the doctors watching the race at Darlington coming back, and everybody had like frontline people's names on the cars. I should have done that in the article on Ricky Stenhouse. Actually, come to think of it, I should have mentioned the doctor's name that was on the 47 because I thought that was really cool that when they did that video. Danny B Talks and some of those other guys were in, showing the doctor's reaction when the 47 crashed on the first lap. I thought that was good. I think that was, as moments this year have been, we've had some more unpleasant moments than pleasant ones, to put it mildly. Again, that moment, like at the start of the race there, I think was really exciting. I remember being on Twitter that day. And, just seeing just how many more people were like following it because it was the only thing on TV and treating it like 1979 all over again. And, just introducing myself and saying, hey, if you want to follow the last place battle, I think it's going to be a really good one today. Maybe it's going to last a lot of laps like it happened at the Southern 500 last year. And then, of course, Ricky Stenhouse crashes the first lap. So that kind of nixed that. But that's the great thing with sports is the unpredictability of it and what keeps us watching. And I certainly hope that regardless of what things look like next year, that we're going to be in a good position on that, and we're certainly looking ahead to that. On that same note, I want to also mention at this point, big thanks to we had a number of people join the Livestream here this week. I did a new video on the Patreon here. I've been meaning for a while to kind of retool it and start getting some more content in there to make sure I can get some more stuff there. Before I hadn't really done a tiered level. I had different tiers, but I did have different levels of access. But it didn't seem like we're getting that much traffic on it there. I mean, I'm very thankful to people that have been supporting in there. But I needed to kind of get some other stuff in there that was going to be, more interesting for people. And I think it was overly ambitious with the different tiers that I was setting up there. So it's like, okay, let's just get it up to just $10, the highest, and just leave it at that. And I think that's been a much easier way to manage it. And I think that's going to be good. I do have a couple of videos I'm working on for the $10 level to get there, which are exclusive videos, as I mentioned in the promotional video in there, that are just not seen anywhere else. $5 level is the one where it's advanced access to videos on this channel here, including Rise of the Field fillers, which I'll talk more about here in a little bit as well. And then the $1 level will be advanced access to the NASCAR Man history videos. So everybody has advanced access to something or some other kind of video content in each of those. And I think that's a better way to do that. Days of Thunder commentary track. Are you reading my mind? Hit me two sheds. That is actually one thing that I am working on. I have it about halfway done. It's the first one I've done. It's a little bit, I don't know how good it's going to be, but it's not the only one I'm thinking of doing. So, and I have other ideas for content on there, but that is one that I'm working on for the $10 level. So you are very on the nose on that. It's not with somebody. It's not with Slap Shoes though. It's just me at the point. That's why I think what makes it challenging. I know Red Letter Media does fantastic commentary tracks. I'm a big Mystery Science Theater fan. I might approach it more like Mystery Science Theater, although I'm not sure if you want to hear my smart aleck comments every 30 seconds at random in the video. But maybe we'll try something like that. It's wide open. I'm always open to suggestions on that, but I'm very thankful to the people that both have been members of the Livestream and people that have joined up there this week. But I got a couple die-cast cards I got to mail out this week, and some bumper stickers orders I've been filling and everything. So it's very exciting, and I'm certainly looking to get people, definitely some good entertainment through there. And hey, if people aren't able to go anywhere, I'm going to try to give you as much content and bring as much of it to you as possible. I cannot overstate how excited I am about this series, Rise of the Field Fillers. I have been chomping at the bit to get each of these ones done here. I just had an idea today about like a way I kind of want to format it. The first episode is now about 80% done. I'm dropping in the last couple of clips on there. There's a couple of things I needed to edit. Actually, the news this week actually made me edit part of the script. So that's one other thing I'm working on. Not a major edit, but I'm getting that done. I'd like to get the video up for the Patreon members within this next week. That's my goal. And then have a premiere set soon after on YouTube, like for these other ones. And again, I know some people have said this in the comments saying that this is just a one-time documentary. No, this is going to be a series. It's going to be a series of videos. I don't know how many parts. I have a vague idea about how I want to kind of do that. But you'll see this in the first episode here. So this will be something different than what we've done in the past with these one-off videos. And the first serialized thing I've done, I guess, really since the starting grids. Which, by the way, in the last run, with our recent members that have joined, we reached our first goal, which is the same goal we reached last summer before Sears Point, that we're going to do another starting grid this year, sometime between this weekend and the season finale at Phoenix for the Cup Series. So you are going to have another starting grid video on this channel for either a Cup or Xfinity or Truck Race. Those of you who are in the already in the Livestream, or those of you who then join the Livestream, between now and I think this Thursday, you'll be able to vote on what race I actually do cover for that starting grid. So you get to vote on that. And then, of course, if you join after that point, you'll still get the benefits of the thing too. And I'm going to set another tier level or goal level further up to do another starting grid at some point in the future too. And we'll just have that always there as something further along, because I know I have a segment of my viewership that loves the starting grids. I love doing them. Doing them week to week, just not really possible right now with the other stuff I like working on at the same time, especially with the Last Car site. That's kind of taken prominence there. But I'm always open to doing those. And I'm already planning on doing the Daytona 500 next year. I have kind of an idea on that. So a lot of irons in the fire. I know it sounds like a lot, and it is, but I'm very excited to kind of get rolling on that. And so that's a lot of stuff that I'm working on here at the same time. So that would be interesting too. Riffs Races, Hippie Two Sheds. I like that. I don't know. So much work for that. It would be tricky. It would be tricky. That would be another kind of thing too. Video idea on Buckshot Jones. I love the obscure cars ran in 2003 to 2005. That's the other one too. The second trailer to Rise of the Field Fillers was posted earlier today. Updated the title graphic and some other stuff. That's actually the first couple minutes of episode 1 that was posted earlier today. The link again is on this channel. I posted it this morning, so you can definitely check that out and see everything on that side too. Racing Science Theater 3000. I like that. LaJoy fan 32. There you go. Yeah, something like that. I mean, I'm thinking. I mean, the Days of Thunder one's been kind of fun. I think it's more meandering. I think kind of doing a movie maybe that's not as good. It would be something that would be, at least more entertaining. But we'll give it a try. I'm sure we'll get feedback on these things as they come along, and most importantly, get some more stuff out there for everyone, and that'll be interesting. Let's see. Kind of seen some other comments here. White Sox are playoffs, man. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I don't think I've even opened the MLB.com site this year. Yeah, it's strange. Well, Joy fan, you're not pulling for Oakland? Come on, man. Come on. But yeah, we're getting Rift side hackers. Yeah, there you go. there could be a lot of my goodness, it could be something else there too. But yeah, no, we're doing another stunning grid. I don't know which one it's going to be. We're still the voting's still ongoing right now within the last Patreon. So and again, people of all levels are able to vote on that. No difference on that. So I think that was really the other challenge with that Patreon, is trying to make sure that was clear as to what benefits are in there. I really want to get back to actually covering the stuff at the tracks. I like getting those magnets and put on the door, then writing other people's names and join up along the way. We even had, I think, Dustin Tanner joined up during our Fontana weekend, so we got him on there, and that's always fun to do. But I've been making some other. We got some big plans. We got some big stuff that we're working on here, and I think it's going to be interesting. And gosh, maybe we'll end up. I thought about doing some live streams like this behind the paywall also, but not the post race ones, of course. I mean, I'm a-okay doing those. I want as many people to watch those as possible, but maybe I'll do like bonus ones separate from the ones that I usually do here in there or something. But that'd be a different one there. Mike Biscuits and Garvey. Tony, have you ever seen the Rains? There you go. The classics. I can still do it. It's the grids are fun. I might even do a video on the grids at some point. I think I did an article on the grids a while back for the 10th anniversary. But I might end up doing something like that. I mean, I don't know if that'd be too self-indulgent, but probably would be. But hearing me narrate over myself would just, I think I would have to have that with an advisory at the beginning of it or something like that. The long shot, Carl Long. Casey Mears reappears. The Cuban Missile, Arc Amarola. Grid riffing. There you go. Hey, yeah, tie both of them together. It's entirely possible. But yeah, that's kind of where we are with this. Yeah, MST3K. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, I think the reason MST3K works so well is that it's the way that they play off each other. I mean, you have great chemistry between people. I'm more of a Mike guy than a Joel guy. Joel had some great episodes, certainly. I mean, did he do Mitchell? Because I know I mentioned Mitchell last Saturday, but that was I was watching a movie that had Martin Balsam in it, and it reminded me of it immediately. But I always like the Mike episode. So of course the Rift Tracks ones nowadays that still have them in it are just really entertaining. So it's always fun. But that'll be good. Mary-Eve Dufault. Oh gosh, I forgot I mentioned that with Mary-Eve Dufault with the in the Most Sport, or no, not Most Sport, the Gilles Villeneuve Circuit Montreal one. I would love to cover a race in Montreal. That'd be great. I'd actually be able to dust off my French for a little bit that I haven't used too much since college. I had to take 5 courses for French, including a French writing course in my junior year, I think it was. And that was challenging. I remember there was a day of the Super Bowl at the Raiders collapse in that one, and then I had to finish an essay that day. So we're talking 2003, and it was just one page, but it was like so hard to do. That was the real challenge with that. He tried to kill me with a forklift. There you go. Let's see. It's interesting. Casey Citizen Kane, the Master of Disguise, Elliot Sadler, the Destroyer, Juan Pablo Montoya. It was always fun. I mean, and we haven't even talked about the wonders of Inception Motorsports. I mean, really, it's what was so funny to me when I posted that video, and I should have done that if I was smart. I should have done that video in like 2012, where I just put all those clips together. But even then, it was too late because it's amazing to me how many people have already forgotten about a lot of like, the ridiculous memes out of Inception, because Christopher Nolan has now gone on to do even more ridiculous things in his movies. And I guess Inception nowadays is just boring to people. But when that team came around, when I heard that there's going to be this 30 car that David Stremming was going to drive, and they were calling it Inception Motorsports, and this team was starting up not even a year after the movie came out. I probably had more fun with those nicknames than I should have, and which is why I end up. There's actually, if you look at my channel, I know it got demonetized because it's got clips from the movie in it and everything. But the Inception Motorsports Supercut, it always makes me laugh. But I know not everybody gets it. But I hated it when Swan Racing bought them up, and then the team just folded, because that one portion of a year between, I think, the early part of 2011 at Richmond to the finale, when Swan Racing started to invest in it, couldn't help but have a general progression, even when they didn't qualify for the race, coming up with stuff on that. That had to be one of my favorite, my favorite underfunded teams or something like that. And the problem is, of course, nowadays people really don't remember Inception Motorsports at all, one way or the other. So it's kind of obscurity on top of obscurity. But I don't know. I always thought that was funny. I like the idea of drawing a track in 45 seconds that takes 50 seconds to go around, like something like that. It's just stupid. But I mean, like, that movie is just so full of itself, and it tries to make every moment. I mean, you want to talk about movie criticism? That's kind of something where, it just cracks me up. And of course, now every trailer has to have that one lowest note on the piano keyboard hit as loud as possible. With the every trailer is an Inception trailer now, so the legacy of it is much more than that. But yeah, the movie's fine. I've certainly seen a lot worse, but it's so full of itself. If I were to make a comparison, it's compared to like Bleach. If you're like an anime fan, like Bleach was like so convinced that it was way cool, and I loved it. I loved it just for that. It made me feel cool watching it because it was just so self-confident, and the story itself was just so stupid. But I couldn't stop watching it, and so I watched it on like Adult Swim for like 8 years, and it was just like, this is anime chat now, I guess. But I mean, for just entertainment chat in general. But I love that. I had to admire that, and I think I'm just kind of intrigued by anything that kind of comes across that way. Maybe we're gonna have that with the Michael Jordan team. Maybe that's gonna be the thing where it's just like, they have this new attitude and everything, and it'll be interesting to see, kind of in a Hesketh racing from Rush and Formula One and all that kind of feel to it. But that was always entertaining. But yeah, the THX team though. Oh my gosh, I mean, isn't that something else? Like, I mean, I love it whenever they do the THX like introduction, you get like an old DVD like Titanic or Speed or something like that. Have to hit that volume as quick as possible to crank that sound up. Do you remember the Simpsons one is always great. I love. I mean, whoever bought out THX, or I guess it was a Lucasfilm thing or something like that. But I miss seeing that in the theaters. Of course, now you can't go to theaters at all. Oh gosh, Speed Racer. Oh man, that might be one. That might be one to do a commentary track for. You're right on that. You're right. That would that would be that whole thing. I mean, where like all these cars have crazy gadgets, but like somebody uses a spear hook, and it's like, oh, shame on them. That's gonna cost them the Hall of Fame. It's like, look at this movie, like, what the hell is what? Like, there's rules in this movie? Like, I mean, maybe I should do something like that in there, but that would be something else to something else there. But yeah, the spear. I mean, it was fun. I saw it in IMAX, which was probably a mistake. But yeah, that was definitely an experience. I remember they handed out lanyards and stuff. I still have that somewhere, where it was like, yeah, like that was kind of fun. I like that. A movie I legitimately like, and I'm sure people hate it though. I liked Herbie Fully Loaded. I really did. It's a guilty pleasure. I know Lindsay Lohan is polarizing and everything, but there was a lot of genuine research that went into that. I think a lot of people talk about Talladega Nights like doing a decent job researching the way sport was. I think Herbie actually did a better job, quite honestly. And I know it's Disney and all that, and it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I thought it was an interesting way to take, because I like the old Herbie movies. I liked, the first one where he finishes in first and third place. Spoiler alert for a 45-year-old movie, but the concept, like car culture, had changed so much since Herbie Goes Bananas or whatever the last one was. That you have to do the Fast and Furious angle, you have to do the NASCAR angle, the monster trucks. So much has happened. It was nice kind of seeing that kind of played in there. I also like the fact that the opening has the article that says that Herbie finished in 53rd spot, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, and the car winking at Jimmy. I mean, that was just great. And then they actually had the actual car. I think that was I don't know if it was at Fontana last year, but I think it was a couple years before that, because some of the filming, of course, was done there. And that was interesting. But I liked that movie. I probably will still do a commentary track on it because, of course, it's silly and it's meant to be, but that's fine. I like that Michael Keaton's in it and stuff, and that was fine. I mean, there's certain movies that you go see and you expect that it's going to be ridiculous, and there's nothing wrong with that. So that's kind of the other side of it. I haven't seen the Bruce Campbell one. Is that the one with the evil car, the Horus car? I haven't seen that one. I've heard about it. Only in whispers, but was Milka Duno in that? That would be something. Yeah, Wachowski's Speed Racer goes into the Pacific Rim column of movies that know what they are. Pacific Rim tried too hard to be serious, though. I would have liked Pacific Rim more if the main character wasn't so boring. Like the guy was just the killjoy through the whole thing. Like I know that they have the tragic backstory and stuff at the start of it, but I think he should have played out like. Have you ever seen that ADHD video back when that used to be on Fox, where they showed like if Michael Bay did Neon Genesis Evangelion, and like you show like any teenager that gets to ride in a giant robot, they would actually be excited about it. Like it should have been like that. The main character should have been just like real gung ho, and that would have been hilarious. But I don't know, nitpicking, I guess. The rest of the movie's fine. It does a better job than, say, Godzilla or Transformers or something, and actually seeing what the heck is happening. Has a little bit more confidence in its own effects, which is kind of nice. But kind of talking about that. Oh, remember NASCAR racers? Yeah, there you go. Pacific Rim. That was one with Gypsy Danger and all that. And there was the giant robots. They had the one where they could have, instead of waiting for these monsters to attack these futuristic cities, they could have just gone underwater and killed them right when they were coming out of the Earth's core or something, and just avoided a whole lot of people needlessly dying and stuff. But movies need to happen somehow. I'm sure. I think it was How It Should Have Ended already captured that, but that was always entertaining. The Last Starfighter. I don't think I've seen that. Man, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. There you go. So yeah, that would be. Yeah, NASCAR racers. That's a good one for. That might actually not be bad. I mean, maybe there'll be some way to do, because I guess the episodes are on YouTube. I mean, well, probably on Hulu at least. I know I saw them somewhere, but that would be an entertaining one to do something with. Try something like that. Yeah, you're giving me good ideas. I mean, these are things I need. I need to get some more content for the $10 level, and I'm gonna try to get some stuff for the $5 level too, to kind of add on to the advanced access to my videos, because there's stuff that needs to be in there. But that'll be kind of long term. I want to fill the $10 level first and kind of get that to kind of overflow into that. But I think we'll get there. Yeah. Let's see. Whole series is on YouTube. Okay. Oh, the Kellys. Oh God. Said head 2 years old as I am. I think I've watched every episode of the Kellys like at least twice just to see what was going on. I remember, yeah, the old Flash cartoon on NASCAR.com in like 2004. Oh gosh, this might be older. It might be like 2002. Yeah. Oh man, it's just like, yeah, really, really basic, and like before, the Gopher cartoon and stuff like that happened later on. You had the Kellys instead. That was, yeah, that goes way back. I didn't know you could find it. It was 2002. Oh man, Yeah. So yeah, you'll be 32 next Thursday. Yeah, you're about the same age as you're well, you're a few years younger than me, but not that much younger. So yeah, Maximum Overdrive was based on John West Townley. That would be good. You like the last two Godzilla movies? Okay, there you go. Well, I mean, I guess it's better than the Matthew Broderick one. So there's that. I didn't see the one with 11 in it. That was different. Old and everything hurts. Yeah, well, that's welcome to now. I'm afraid that's the other part of it. Yeah. Has anybody posted the Kellys on YouTube? I haven't even thought to search for that. I don't even know if anybody does that. I mean, I don't know how you'd even capture it. You have to get a video capture card or something to do that. Does it even show? See, it's one of those things you search for it and it doesn't know what you're talking about. Now you got videos on. Oh, dude. Oh, here we go. There's the first episode. Oh man. Oh man. I might have to do something with this. Oh, dude. This is going. Wait a minute. Oh, the first shot of it, I swear. It shows the American flag. I thought it was gonna start to American Dad or something. Dude, here we go. Here's for you young ones here. Put this in your playlist. I don't know how good the quality is. I'm not playing it with the sound yet, but there's that there. Dude, yeah. I haven't thought of watching that in forever. Oh, Nancy Cartwright, was this actual Nancy Cartwright posted this? Was she in that? Was that Bart Simpson's voice or Lisa? Lisa. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do something with this. Oh yeah. Okay. I think I got a new bonus content idea. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, she was a producer? Okay. Yeah. Good morning, USA. Exactly. Yeah. That's what it looked like. I want a box set of Inside NASCAR on Showtime. I mean, they could do that with like, yeah, like the other. Okay, that's funny. That's funny. I have literally not seen that in almost 2 decades. Team owner Joe Kelly won't let daughter Trish drive for Team Kelly. While scraping the bottom of the barrel, they come upon a surprise option that changes everything in their season. Oh yeah. You're probably gonna just have a 6-minute video of me just laughing. Like I don't know if there'd be anything worthwhile. Oh man. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. What a weird world. Well, that's gonna be something else. 26 episodes free on YouTube. Right on. Okay. At least for NASCAR racers, I guess we jumped subjects so many other times. Anyone like Airplane Blake theming? Oh, love it, love it. The second one's not even bad. Second, I mean, William Shatner keeps that second movie from being a complete train wreck. Really, I mean, it's not nearly as good as the first one, but I mean, it's hard to top Leslie Nielsen and Peter Graves and the others and Robert Stack. I mean, everybody just has wonderful moments in that first one. The second one's not bad though. Second one's interesting. Airplane scarred me for life. No, it's weird. My goodness. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do something with that. That's gonna be interesting. All I'm getting right now is like clips of like Knight Rider and I clicked on one clip from Knight Rider and like now I'm getting like nothing but Knight Rider clips on my YouTube channel now. I've never watched like a full episode of it. I think I clipped the opening theme because I was trying to figure out what the narrator was saying because it sounds like he was saying something about a guy who doesn't exist and it's just like he doesn't exist and I'm like what is that? I don't know, but and now it's like you must like Knight Rider. The algorithm dictates that you do. So, oh, Spaceball's the best Mel. You mean Mel Brooks movie? Yeah, I mean Robin Hood Men in Tights though. I mean it's Spaceballs. I don't know if Spaceballs is better than Men in Tights. Men in Tights is really funny. I mean but Dave Chappelle's in it, man. I mean come on. I mean how can you top that? Tough call. This is interesting. Taking miles off course. That's impossible. Our instruments. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's. See, there you go. Or I guess we're talking. Yeah, we're talking about airplanes. Yeah, there you go. There's a lot of bleed over there. We're talking about. everything like that. We'll wrap it up pretty soon. Oh, gosh, what is it? Oh, it's 9 o'clock over here. I know it's getting late on a weekday here. We'll wrap up the show here in just a little bit. I think we're pretty much done. I'm gonna probably unplug here and watch the Kellys, and then remark on just how long it's exactly been since I've seen that. So there's been a lot of that. Well, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it right here. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I know we had kind of wandered off a little bit on everything else here, but I hope you enjoyed it and you're all staying safe out there. But stay tuned for the next time that NASCAR decides to have maybe 7 or 8 news stories in 24 hours, which probably will happen again at least once or twice before we even get to our Sunday show. But failing that, we will certainly do our show on Sunday night after the Las Vegas race, and we'll sum up the weekend's action, the Truck Series, the Xfinity Series, and the Cup Series as we we get to the next round of wherever the heck we're heading here between now and the beginning of November in Phoenix, and a conclusion to something in 2020 this season. So thank you again for tuning in. I'll let you guys have a wonderful evening and safe travels, everyone. And we will see you next Sunday. So have a good one, folks.